All right. Test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test. Test. There we go. Facebook, what's happening? We here. You know what we do day in and day out. Yeah. LinkedIn. Let me check LinkedIn. We're gonna get things started. We see what the topic is today, man. Testing. 1, 2. LinkedIn. What's going on, LinkedIn? All right. We post that. Let's do it. And let me just check the YouTube real quick. Jesus. YouTube, what's happening? Check. Testing.
Tax Act knows taxes can be confusing. So we've got experts, live human experts.
Testing. All right, good. We're good. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, we are all good. There was something that popped up. Something that popped up that to get another look at. All right, let's do it. All right, here we are, back again. See what we're talking about today. You see what we are talking about today. All about sharpening your tools. And I will get into the details of that as we go. First and foremost, let me introduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world. My name, Aswan Crookshank, former Division I college football player and current 5-time published author and educator. And what I do, what I created, what I'm all about, what the whole Move Swiftly framework is all about, is taking the lessons from the football world, the teamwork lessons from the football world that you learn on the football field, and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have teams, so they can create teams, bring in employees, bring in a staff that is running as efficiently and as hungry and as eager, passionate group of employees. They're coming in the same way that a championship youth or high school football team will be coming in. That's what it is I do. That is what I translate. That's how I work the business. That is what we do in a nutshell here in the Move Swiftly world. And we do this in many, many different facets, and we will get into all that. All that stuff is available on the internet. Just, look me up and all of this stuff will be available to you. So as we get into today's topic, let me get through a couple announcements and then we will dive right into it. First things first. West Palm Beach, Florida. If you are interested in free boxing lessons, you heard it correctly. Free boxing lessons. Hit that QR code that you see right there on the screen, and I will get the information to you. We do them every 2 weeks at a local park right here in West Palm Beach area. Next thing, business owners, if you have not yet, go to freeguide.makeandmove.com. Make sure you go and tap in there, because what I did is I created 10 steps, 10 easy to understand bullet points in which you can use right now to implement in your staff meetings and in your team to make it so people are very clear on what it is they're going to be doing and how they're going to be doing it. And finally, patreon.com/as144. Make sure you tap in with me there as well. The Patreon link, where we're building an exclusive community of business owners that are really looking to build strong and solid and eager and hungry teams. All right. So as far as today, we are going to discuss the importance of sharpening your tools. All right. And when I say sharpening your tools, it also means perfecting your craft, making sure you are working on your craft. Now, the challenge with that, and I'm going to dive deeper into that, given my own story. I actually don't have any clips to show you guys today. This is all going to be things that I've lived through lived through personally. In order to sharpen your tools or perfect your craft or work on your craft, you actually have to know what the craft is. All right. You have to actually know what the tools are that need to be sharpened. And the reason I'm making this point is because these tools are only going to be found through going through it, through self-discovery, through actual lifestyle things that you've gone through that you did not plan. All right. That you were pursuing a certain thing, and then you realize, hey, I got to be good at this thing if I'm going to be able to get this result. So I have to make sure I'm working on this thing every single day. That happens through life experiences, because it goes through life experiences. You realize what you like to do, you realize what you wanted to do, and then you have to accept the fact I have to be good at a certain thing to do that thing, and it has to be something that you're constantly working. Think of the famous quote, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. Say it nice and slow again so you guys catch it. Hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. So just give you the frame of what got me thinking about this particular subject and what made it so I had to come on here and do about an hour-long show, maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour-long show explaining the entire thing. First of all, it started this past Monday. I started this past Monday, and it happened live right here on camera, right? Because I didn't actually expect to do that. And by the way, for you guys, especially if you're new around here, just know a lot of the work I do, a lot of the speaking I do is impromptu. It's in the moment, and you'll see like my live my live reaction to certain things and how we go about, which is what what entrepreneurship is all about, right? So came on here Monday, like I do every single Monday, except this past Monday was a little more difficult for me to get through because I had to talk about my Washington Commanders getting belt to ass, getting that ass beat by the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, they filled me up with so much hope. I was talking so much mess, talking so much smack going into that Sunday afternoon game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Philadelphia Eagles laid a 55 piece on us, hung 55 points to 23, and just smacked our ass up and down Lincoln Financial Field. And one of the things that I made sure I said, especially if we're talking big business like the NFL, you can't rely on this whole concept or this idea of, oh, I'm going to be back next year, or there's a guarantee I'll be back next year because we have a young bull at quarterback and this, that, and the third. Look, I've seen this team in particular, have good years and then, have another 10, 15 terrible years. So the NFL, it doesn't work like that. All right. You have to make sure you take advantage of the moment. But then again, I'm getting off topic. Here's the point of me bringing it up is the Monday from that recording. You guys can go look at it. It's titled Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. While I was on this live stream, I had just recently learned how to screen share stuff. And it just so happens that all of the major highlights from the game, from the actual Commanders versus Eagles game, is on YouTube. So I pulled it up right here and I was analyzing the film right here on the live stream. I didn't plan on doing that. I really didn't. I didn't plan on doing that at all. I didn't plan to go as in depth as I did. I was going to actually come and give my analysis and my thoughts on the game, but I didn't plan on actually, stopping and, seeing this one step, seeing this one, how this one picked up blocks and all that kind of stuff, to the point where it was almost like we were in a film session. Again, this is all stuff you guys can go and look up on your own, right? So as I did that, it took me back to when I coached high school football. It took me back to when I had first graduated from college, and my goal was to become a football coach. That was the goal that I had coming out of college initially, was to coach football. That was what I wanted to do. Again, I played at Stony Brook University. I played on both sides of the field, both sides of the ball. I played on offense and I played on defense. So I had an opportunity to get a perspective on the game from a conceptual standpoint, X's and O's and details about routes and coverages and all that. That was more so for the people that were actually playing in the game, I was more so the scout team player. Most of my, pretty much all my years playing college football, I was the scout team player. So I had to kind of sit back and kind of get a bird's eye view of just the overall concept and seeing certain coaches' tendencies and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, as I was watching film this past Monday with the Commanders and the Eagles, it brought back a lot of those memories. And as soon as I felt a lot better, or I didn't say better, but I felt great actually doing it again. It was pretty cool because it's a natural thing. Like when I first graduated college, my first job was that of a college scout. So by trade, I'm a scout. By trade, like you asked me what the trade is, what is it I do? I'm a scout, coach, football coach type of a guy that is just in the public speaking and the podcasting influencer world. But initially the trade is that of a football coach and a college scout, right? So what I did, because that was such a great episode, it was such a rarity, it was so great very few people, by the way, who talk football on the internet, very few people are breaking down the game from that perspective and showing you steps, showing you the value of having a solid offensive line, showing you what the guys are doing from a blocking and tackling standpoint and all the stuff that I was talking about Monday. So I decided that and I don't clip every single episode. I usually go to Opus Clips to clip certain episodes that I feel great about. So because I don't clip every episode, it's just certain ones that I clip that are just going to be different or whatever it is. It depends on what it is I'm talking about, if I'm going to clip it or not. And when I say clip, I mean, I put it in something called Opus Clips, and basically just put it in and they generate whatever clips show up from the actual whole live or the whole video that you're talking about, right? So I clipped up that episode and it gave me like 30 different clips, and the majority of those clips was that of me watching the game like in real time, watching the Washington Commanders and Eagles game in real time and pointing out certain things that happened and why certain plays worked and why this happened, why that happened. And it was showing that stuff. So these things, and for those of you guys who don't know, when it comes to stuff getting posted on social media, very rarely am I actually posting this stuff. I usually have a scheduler set to where it starts posting throughout the day and stuff like that. So it's not me on my phone all day just posting. No, it's me actually having a plan, getting stuff set up, and it's being posted throughout the day or throughout the week or whenever it gets posted. There's at this point now, I don't even have access to my TikTok account, because what happened was when they had that ban, I just decided I was going to offload it or delete it. And then when you try to go back, apparently when you try to go back on TikTok, there's a bunch of nonsense going on where you got to check the verification, bunch of stuff I don't feel like doing, right? Bunch of stuff I don't feel like doing. My ideal client isn't on TikTok or on social media as it is. They're not freeloaders per se. So that really doesn't bother me as much. But anyway, as the clips were being posted, from me breaking down the game, I was getting a lot of great feedback. I was hearing from the kind of people that I want to be serving on a regular basis. All right. And that is what made me realize, oh man, I should probably do more of this. All right. I'm going to pause right there just to emphasize a point. This is entrepreneurship. All right. This is entrepreneurship at the core of it. And business owners listening to me, the folks that really want to run a business, run your own show, this is what you have got to get a hold of. You've got to get a hold of your ideal customer, your ideal client, and your ideal person. What is it they want every day, and give that to them as frequently as you possibly can give it to them, because that's entrepreneurship. It's not what you want to give them. It's what is it they want. And you will only know what they want if you put certain things out there and see how they respond. Be unique, do something that's going to make it so folks, look through your stuff, or the person that you want to buy your stuff, or the person that you want in your audience is going to look through your stuff and be like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's kind of intriguing. So that's what happened with me when I put the film out there from the Commanders and Eagles game, right? And when I was hearing back from these folks, it brought me back to how and why I developed that eye for talent. How and why I developed an ability to break down tape, watch film, and make sure that is a skill that I have, as you move forward. All right. And just the story in itself, I'm going to dive deeper into it as we go. The story in itself is something that is going to be important for you guys to take into consideration, because people are always looking for guidance. We'll say it like that, especially younger people. If you're talking about being in business, if you're talking about running an organization and creating a company, creating something that's going to have some value, creating something that's going to be lasting over a long period of time, you're inevitably going to run into a group of younger people. You're going to have a pipeline. It's almost going to be like you're fishing, and there's always going to be this pipeline of younger people coming in looking for guidance, not really knowing where they're going, just knowing that they want to be productive members of society. And I'm living proof example of it. All right. So I'll walk you through how this happened and why it became something that I took the initiative to do, and why now I'm in my mid-30s. It's something that I'm going to continue to do, because this Saturday, as of me recording this, the 30th of January, this Saturday, February 1st, will be the first ever film session Saturday, where I'm going to, pick a game this week. It's going to be the Alabama-Georgia game. I'm just going to pick a college game, break down the film the same way I broke down the film with the Commanders and Eagles. And I'll do that every single Saturday until we get to college football season. And then from there, the hope would be for me to be doing a play-by-play announcements for a college game, like an actual play-by-play. But I can't go and ask for those positions or ask for that contract without having a steady stream of broken down film as it is. So I'll be kind of the old saying, like killing two birds with one stone. I'll be kind of putting my video resume out together, but also being able to teach and give you guys an understanding of the importance of developing and sharpening your craft and working on your craft, right? So here's how it started. It started when I was it was my last year, the whole year in totality. This is 2010. Yes, 2010. So this whole year, 2010, was the last year in which I played football, played as a player, played football. And going into that, like I mentioned, I played it. It's all documented right here. Right here, go get it. Transferring D1, go get that on makeitmove.com. Transferring D1, practical guide on how to navigate the chaotic world of college athletics. All right, you guys can go get that, or actually get the whole package between Transferring D1, Make Your Move, and the Six-Figure Athlete. Make sure you go get that whole package. There's another one coming this year too. It's going to be all about how to be a wintrepreneur, right? So we're going through 2010, and at the time, I had just finished my first season at Stony Brook because I had transferred in. I just finished my first season as a linebacker. Now, because I transferred in, I wasn't eligible to play in any games. So even if I was good enough to actually get on the field, I wasn't even allowed to get on the field because I transferred from a D2, and then I went to a JUCO, didn't play because my ACL was torn. I was still rehabbing my knee, and then transferred up to a 4-year. The NCAA deemed that situation as a person who's not eligible and not even allowed to be in games. So it was automatic. I was going to be a scout team player on every single look team, from special teams to offense to defense. I was scout team player for a whole year. I mean, just getting bam. I mean, me versus the starting offensive lineman, just going at it. And I had to sit in these meeting rooms knowing that I'm not allowed to actually play in the games. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, certain things happen in life that are going to prep you for your next phase, which is no different than everything my entire college experience was, right? So that season came to an end. We won the Big South. We were 6-5 when we did win the Big South, and I did do an episode talking about that season. In fact, I'll show you right here. It's right here. That ring right here. Yeah. We earned that one. I earned that one. Yeah, I earned that ring right there because it's a scout team player. When you are doing everything with the team, but knowing that you're not allowed to get into games and stuff like that, it means a lot. That ring means a lot because of the work that I had to put in, knowing what my situation was, right? So as we got into that off season, I was just motivated, obviously very motivated to, just go out there, see what I can do. What my expectations was it to start, was my expectations to, be one of the best linebackers that was in the Big South, whatever the expectation was. My expectation was to just go out there and compete. All right. The expectation was to go out there and compete and to finally get in a game. I've been in college at this point. I was in college for 4 years at this point, and it was like, first year again, ACL goes. Second year, I'm rehabbing the ACL. Third year, I'm damn a scout team player that's not even allowed to be in games. So fourth year, I was like, look, I just want to get on the field. Shit, it's been 3 years of me sitting and just watching the game, watching people play. I want to get in the game. So we had one of our captains at the time. His name was Julian Glenn. We used to call him Jules. Jules was one of our senior leaders, and very much like, not exactly like, but similar to my situation, he was not able to play the previous season in 2009, even though he walked into that 2009 season as the starting outside linebacker. I believe it was the second game of the year. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was the second game of the year where he did something horrible to his shoulder. Like he, got a shoulder injury, in which made it so he was not, he was out for the season. It was that severe of an injury. So he was, again, like myself, folks that weren't eligible, whether it was you weren't eligible because of, NCAA bullshit, or you weren't able to play because of injury. All of us just kind of hung out that year, or even red shirts, or even if you redshirted as a incoming freshman, it was like all of us just kind of lumped ourselves into one category of cats who are watching the game because we can't play. So you had, again, the cats that weren't eligible because of NCAA restrictions. You had the guys that weren't playing because of an injury. They're out because of the season-ending injury. And then you had the guys that were incoming freshmen, and their coaches decided that they were going to redshirt them. All three of us just in the same category. We're doing everything. We're going through the meetings. We're doing all this stuff, and we cannot play in the games, right? So that was 2009 football, Stony Brook, for myself and several others, and Jules just happened to be in that category. So the moment finally came. We had our first spring meeting. For the 2010 season. All right. And this was before spring ball started. There's a lot of new energy. We're ready to go. It's like, all right, the guys that I just mentioned, the ones that were in that category, was like, all right, let's go. We finally get an opportunity to, hit some people, smack some people around, just get out there and compete, see what we can do and all that good stuff. So remember Coach P, he had a meeting with all of us. And before the meeting closed, Jules had announced, he goes, yo, linebackers. All right. I need all the linebackers to stay after. He took the initiative. This is why he was one of our captains. He goes, all the linebackers, we meeting after this meeting, right? We just quick meet. We all go gather up because linebackers set the tone. This is how good solid linebacking cores were the quarterbacks of the defense. So we got to make sure we got our shit together, right? So he was the leader, and we had just lost a leader to graduation. His name was Tyler Santucci, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's still the defensive coordinator for Georgia Tech now. I think he's still there. You never know nowadays. Nowadays, you never know what coach jobs are going to be shuffled and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so Jules has us all in a meeting. We're all the linebackers, and this is when I'm still playing linebacker, right? This is before they actually moved me. They moved me to fullback literally the day before that spring practice. All right. Before the day of the spring practice, first day of spring practice, I was going into it thinking I was playing linebacker, and then they moved me to fullback the day before. So this is why this is so, and it's very crucial that I explain that to you, because this was the span of maybe about a month, maybe a couple weeks from the first meeting. It was a couple months. I believe it was at least 2 months, if I'm not mistaken, month and a half or so, that it went from me thinking that I'm going into this spring season as a linebacker and then switching me, because when Jules had us in this meeting, all right, Jules, had a quick meeting with us after one of the big team meetings, and he looked at us all. He goes, look, I'm just trying to figure out what time can you guys get together so we can watch this film. and he just left. He let it sit for a little bit. He let it sit. He looked at us on some like real, like, you know, we the young cats and he's the older cat that's been through it and he knows his time is coming, you know, where he's going to no longer be able to play the game. And he looks at, he goes, what time are we getting up in this film room together? I'm doing it exactly the way like, this is the way he was looking. And then he follows up by saying, and this is a true form of leadership. This is when you know you got a great leader, right? Because after he asks that question, he looks at us and he goes, look, I've been in there, about 2 or 3 hours every single day. I find about 2 or 3 hours every single day to just get up in the film room and just perfect my craft and figure out how I can get better, because I know I just spent this past year not being able to play because of an injury. So I used that time wisely. So he looked at us and goes, what time could we get in the film room? Then, you know, eventually all of us gave an answer of a specific time when we could do it, this, that, and the third. And one of the things that I'll never forget is all of us coming together as linebackers. At least all of us thought we were going to be linebackers going into that spring practice. It was myself and Matt Filer. Both of us ended up getting moved to fullback, but there were other guys that stayed as linebacker. And this was before the incoming freshmen from the 2010 year. This is before they got there. So the room wasn't a whole lot of people, but it was enough to where when we got there, I learned so much in terms of just being able to go and do film study on your own. All right. Film study is not something that you have to do only when your coaches are around, critiquing you and telling you this is what you need to do here, this is what you need to do there. When you get a situation where it's players only are watching film together, like it was myself, Jules, Matt, and a couple other linebackers. Craig was in there too. And we had the big projector on, and you know, Jules was there pointing out who did what happened, how this happened, this, that, and the third. And we spent a good hour and a half, and we did this on multiple occasions. It wasn't just one session, but we were doing this regularly, weekly, just watching film. And again, I'm just like a sponge, just taking it all in. Like, okay, this is how you self-correct. This is how you watch yourself on film. This is how you get yourself better. All that kind of stuff, right? So fast forward to that year, like I said, they did move me to fullback, and I did make the travel squad, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we went through the year, and I did actually finally, 4 years in college, I actually did and saw some damn game action. In fact, just to prove it to you, I don't got time to do that, but you guys can look it up and see. They still show it. They still show it on the Stony Brook website, whereas like Oswald and Crookshank saw game action in 2010. I'm like, hey, if you guys only knew the kind of how hard it was just to get on the field. And as well, I like to tell a lot of high school kids, man, that college football thing ain't no joke, because it can be simply just a matter of opportunity, simply a matter of injury, simply just a matter of a situation, a position change. It is the wild, wild west. Again, college football is not for everybody. I want to make sure I'm stating that on the record. It's a matter of persistence and how bad you really want to do this thing. All right. So we get through that season, and I knew going in, I'd say I knew during camp that this was going to be my last year playing. I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like a couple credits away from actually getting my degree, graduating, and moving on. My second year of college, I spent time in the working world. Once that money started coming in, man, it's like, all right, cool. I'm ready to give back to the game. I'm ready to make money off the lessons that I learned as a player. So, coaching was something that I felt naturally called to do. It was one of those things where it was like every single coach that I saw was doing big things, that was making it to these high levels of success. I looked at my resume, my college experience, and I looked at their college experience. It was the exact same thing, like absolutely parallel. Raheem Morris playing right there at Hofstra, and now look, head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. Mike Tomlin, played at a small school like the one I played at, William and Mary. You see what he's doing. Everybody that was making like major things happen in the coaching world, very similar resume, very similar college experience to what I dealt with. So it felt very natural, right? However, here was the issue that I ran into. The issue I ran into was I didn't have family in the business, right? Most of the time, when I say family, like you see brothers coaching together. You see most of the time, and I'm saying this not because I'm complaining at this point, but I'm saying this because when you decide that coaching is something you want to do, it is not a lot of money in it. So if you are being brought in, if it is a situation where you're getting, I know what the like major coaches make and stuff like that, but it's really not when you add up everything, you add up everyone that coaches. I'm talking about all levels. There really isn't a whole lot of money in it. So when you decide that you want to be a football coach and that's your career, it's beneficial to you if you have a dad that coached and they can, kind of help you get a foot in the door and tell you this, tell you how it all works or how to have certain conversations with people. It's beneficial to you if you have a brother that's also in the coaching business and you guys coach together and you guys are doing it as a family. I'm saying all this because, again, you're not going to see a lot of money initially. And if you're going to stick to it, you got to love the game, number one, but you also got to love the players. You got to love the players to the point where you would do it for free if it was feasible. All right. That's important for you to understand. That's what like a prerequisite that I had to learn going in. Right. So for me personally, when I decided that I was going to get into coaching, I must have spent probably hours just sending my resume out to so many different coaches. I mean, like so many different programs, program after program after program. Hey, I'm willing to be a GA. So to get a foot in the door in coaching, normally you would be a graduate assistant first, where they're basically paying, I think they give you a stipend or something like that. And they pay for your school to get a master's. And then you're out there basically like doing the coaching responsibilities. That's usually how people get a foot in the door. That they call that being a GA, graduate assistant, right? So I was sending my resume out, telling people that I was willing to do something like that. And I remember actually getting a response from someone saying, I'd recommend that you do it at the school that you're currently playing at. I got a lot of will keep on file responses and all that kind of stuff. Just, again, because it is the wild, wild west and that you just never know. You just never know. You just got to stay persistent and work those contacts. Right. So being the kind of player that I was, I never developed a personal relationship with the Stony Brook coaches. All right. It was always a business interaction with them. It was always a situation where, again, I'm the scout team player and they're the coach. And it wasn't much friction, but it wasn't like they cared much about me as much as they cared about the guys that were actually going to be on the field. Now, it may have felt like a curse or something that was discouraging when you played. But as I grew up, I realized how much of a blessing that actually was, because getting too close to certain coaches can actually hinder your success, can actually hinder the things that you want to do. Getting too attached to a certain program, as I was talking about this morning when I was discussing the Jim Knowles situation. Jim Knowles, who left Ohio State, went to Penn State. If you get too attached to one program, it can hinder the ability to go and move on to do other things, which is why I wouldn't trade anything. I love what I'm doing now. I love the ability to be able to say what the hell it is I want. I love the ability to break down certain things, and more so being on this side and having this bird's eye view of the game and not be so bought into one program. I love still being able to be a diehard fan. Regular listeners know, a diehard Michigan Wolverines fan. I mean, if Ohio State actually offered me a position, I would have had a real moral problem, taking any positions with Ohio State because of the Michigan fan in me. I'm a diehard Redskins fan. Again, if Cowboys offer me some position, again, I have a real problem putting on that star. And that's what I'm saying, which is why I'm so blessed and so happy that things actually turned out the way they turned out, because I know what drew me to the game was, being very loyal to certain programs. And when you get into coaching, you can't be loyal to the program as much as you were before you got into coaching. We'll just say it like that. Right. So it was challenging figuring out what I was going to do as graduation is steadily approaching. Again, we're in that second semester now of my senior year in college. Graduation is approaching. The football season just ended. I've been sending out my resume. I'm doing all these things to try to figure out where the hell it is I'm going to land once graduation ends, right? So yes, so it was that winter break from, so the fall season ends in 2010. We have our winter break. I'm like locked in doing this, trying to figure out where I'm going to land the next fall in regards to coaching, because I know I'm not going to be playing anymore. And I know I'm going to, at this point, have my college degree, and it's time to be in the real world, right? So what I decided to do was I went back to my high school. This is why the thumbnail is this today. I went back to my high school, and my high school at this point was the 5th ranked team in the country. Good Counsel High School was growing to become a national powerhouse. And this is only 4 years after I graduated and was a captain there. And I was tell people all the time, like, there's no way if I spent one more season at Good Counsel, there's no way I would have started, because they grew into something major right after, within the 4 years of me leaving, graduating, and all that, going off to college and all that kind of stuff. So I went there just kind of doing some soul searching, really. I wanted to see if my linebackers coach was there. Shout out to Coach again, and just kind of seeing how the program built or grew. At this point now, I'm seeing the end of my playing career. And fortunately for me, you see this guy right here on the top right. His name is Kevin McFadden. Kevin McFadden. I know it looks like he's a music producer. He does, his passion and what he does is like, I guess you would call his trade. His trade is that of a gospel singer, but he spent, years, decades at this point, building up what Good Counsel football. Anybody that knows Good Counsel football, whether you played there or you're just an observer, the name Kevin McFadden, because Kevin McFadden was the guy that was on the phone day in and day out with college coaches and, putting us on and helping us out, basically being the pipeline between major college. Hold on real quick. Basically being the pipeline between major college football and Good Counsel High School. And as someone that graduated there, played there, I'm seeing the growth. I mean, when he first got there, we were excited. We had, and I'll break it down with this. This is how much it grew. I was a sophomore getting ready to be a junior at Good Counsel. And we had four, technically four. All right, four. We had 4 Division I guys signed. We had the Galts, Tommy and Deej Galt, and they signed to Maryland. Now, their dad was the strength coach there. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the only other offer they had was Towson. So it wasn't like they had college coach coming in and out of the building, looking at them. If I'm not, I'm thinking about it, I think they actually committed during the summer. And it was because I believe they were able to get in and stuff like that. So it wasn't, again, not to take anything away from them. They were 2 great leaders as well, but they were going to Maryland. They were going to go to the University of Maryland. But the other 2, Greg Lagon and Jerron Pearson. Greg, Delaware State. All right, yes, an HBCU FCS program. And Jerron Pearson was the University of Maine. Those were the 4 schools. You fast forward to when I graduated college, it was damn Big Ten, SEC. We talking Alabama, we talking the University of Florida, we talking like major schools. Now it wasn't that there was just more talent as much as there was some of that, but also it was because of the work and the hard, the constant calling of people like Kevin McFadden, who would be on the horn with people, would be, calling college coach after college coach for us every single day. So, I went back, like I said, as I was graduating, it was time for me to graduate and I was done playing. I went back to my high school just to again, soul searching, feeling where I've been, and was hoping that I would run into Coach Malloy, run into one of my old coaches and let them know, hey, trying to build my resume, trying to, get into coaching, what it is I have to do. And fortunately, Coach McFadden was there, right? Coach McFadden was there, and we sat down. It turned into like a good hour-long conversation. We sat down and we talked for a good hour. And he asked me the question. He goes, "So, you want to coach?" Never forget it, because he's a real defensive line coach, so he's real blunt, real always on energy, high energy guy, right? He said, "So you try to coach?" At this point, he had so many connections with college coaches that I'm getting advice from someone who also was looking to get into the college coaching game at one point himself. And so now I'm not going to tell you about the whole hour-long conversation. We'd be here for too long for that. But I'll put it like this. The conversation ended with him telling me, okay, let's look at the situation, right? Right now, you have access to all of the film, all of the things that you can get at Stony Brook, all right? Whether the Stony Brook coaches are taking you seriously or they want to give you a GA position, because we had talked about being a GA at certain schools, and how a person can get on when it comes to, especially me, getting newly graduated, very knowledgeable about the game, played at certain places and been around and stuff like that. He was talking about how a person just gets a foot in the door, right? And I was telling him, look, I don't have much family in the game. I don't have a dad that coach or a brother that coach or uncles or anything like that. So I gotta figure. I have to actually be good. I have to actually know what the fuck it is I'm talking about if I'm gonna be having these conversations or get into the game, especially if you're talking about getting in front of players and having players look up to you and ask you certain advice, life advice, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I explained that to him, and instead of him, obviously he was in the same situation where there was not a lot of family or a dad that coached or anything like that. So he obviously resonated with this idea that I couldn't get into coaching because of there wasn't a family member in there. But instead of taking me down some pity party and saying, oh, well, because you don't got no family in the business, because you don't got this, because, blah, 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 I don't want to hear you. He, instead of him allowing me to make that excuse, and this is why I'm telling you, this is why I'm so proud. And so I look at my life now so proud and happy that I played specifically for Good Counsel football, is because there was no excuse. He didn't allow me to make an excuse. He said to me, he goes, look, right now, what you got to do is you got to go back to Stony Brook, right? Where I played, go right back to Stony Brook. And because you have this final semester there, that spring semester, you just got to go sharpen your tools, man. You got to go up in that film room, and you're going to be, because I told him, I was going to be. So what I did do actually when I was at Stony Brook that last semester is I did volunteer in the spring, volunteered in the offices and, did some like office work, go for work and stuff like that. But he told me, he goes, look, when you get back, you got to go up in that film room, man, when you get some time and just, sharpen your skills, man, sharpen your tools, break down certain coverages and just look to see who's doing what, who's taking this step, who's doing that. Take your own notes. If coaches don't want to give you an opportunity, just go get better. Go get better. And at this point, and again, this is the guy right here on the right, top right. At this point, he turned into that like musician that's constantly trying to better his craft, constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to sharpen your tools. And when he, obviously that's the way we ended our conversation. So when we were done and when I made it back to Long Island, when I made it back to Stony Brook at that point, that's what I did. I walked into there not really asking them for a spot on the staff. I didn't really go in there and say, hey, Coach P, can you hook me up with the spot on the staff or anything like that? I was more so now spending my time, literally spending hours watching film, watching some of the practice film, watching some of the game film, watching just watching something, because I had access to these tools and it made me better. So what happened after that was when I had the confidence now to say, okay, when there was a job offer that came from National Scouting Report, and I became a college scout. I had enough confidence to say, look, I can do commission work. I don't need to be, so attached to one football program in order to be able to stay in the game per se, in order to develop that eye for talent. And that's what to this day is benefiting me now. It was that move. Again, go back, I was 22 years old. And the opportunity for me to go coach at a specific program didn't present itself. So the advice I was given was to go develop and sharpen your skills and sharpen your tools on your own, get better at what you can control. And then you will just be good in general. You'll just be able to do things in general, regardless of if someone's telling you to do it. So now let's fast forward 15 years later, when I have my own platform, I have my own podcast, my own books, my own story. Everything is built up on mine to the point now, if I wanted to now, these programs that I once was applying for jobs or wanting a job with, now they're going to be hiring me. They're going to be looking to contract with me because my story can resonate with their program. And I could think bigger scale, think bigger athletics program and stuff like that. All that stuff now is in the works because I didn't make the decision to just commit to one sport and one program. I just opened myself up because I had to, not because I wanted to, because I had to. I had no other option. I had no daddy to go, okay, I'm going to just coach where my daddy is. I'm not have no brother there to go coach where my brother is. The program I played for didn't really care about me that much because I was a scout team player. So it was pretty much just, you got to go fend on your own. And that's where it starts to pay off. You start to see these things pay off. If your mindset is you have to get it done. If your mindset is that of a person that says, I know the game, I have what it takes, and I'm going to take advantage of every single part of my situation. My situation was I getting ready to graduate from college. It's a good thing. Getting ready to graduate. I just finished playing football. I have access to all of the film. It's all there. And even as a player, I remember even as a player, I would do this. I have access to all this film. Let's develop my football knowledge. Let's develop my football knowledge and see exactly where it takes me. Now, when it comes to now, in the situation now where I'm teaching and you have the books out, you have the intellectual property out, you have the podcast, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that can be going on, a lot of avenues I can take every single day, right? And I have a situation where something came up this past Monday where I'm watching it, and it was almost like riding a bike, where I'm watching Saquon take on blocks. I'm watching his steps. I'm watching how this one angles. I'm watching this one that's at the edge. I'm doing all this stuff, and this stuff was flowing out naturally, right? So I said to myself, after watching that and after rewatching those clips, I'm like, you know what? Being a play-by-play announcer for a college football game is something that makes sense now for me. It makes sense now for me to be able to do that. And as you look online, given the world that we live in, given what we have access to and what we're able to do, if you're going to pursue a contract or pursue a position like that, you need to have digital footprint, something I spoke about yesterday, right? You need to have actual footage of you doing the thing that you're going and putting yourself out there for. And that's where, again, this week, you'll start to see me breaking down certain games. So I'm going to call it Film Session Saturday, and you'll see me breaking down certain games and how it's going to work. And it doesn't matter how many views it gets. It really doesn't. And this is I'll close you guys out with this point. When you get into the content creation game, and when you decide that you're going to do exactly what it is I've been explaining for the past 48 minutes here, sharpen your tools. You can't worry about the views, folks. You can't worry about how many people liking your shit. You can't worry about how many views you're getting on whatever social platform you're on. None of it matters. None of it in the grand scheme of things. The only thing that matters is, are you getting better at your craft? And is it going to be something in which you can send to a decision maker, send to the person in which you are looking to seek out, whether it be the client, whether it be the potential employee, whether it be the person that's actually going to, offer you the contract. Can you send enough footage to that person so they can create an opportunity for you? That is all it's about. All right, that's all it's about. All right, now the views, again, the more views come and the more likes and comments and positive comments and all that, not to say those things aren't appreciated, not to say that those things just don't matter per se, or what happens when people Google you, not to say that those things don't matter. They do. There's a time and a place for it. I get it. But what's also very important is that you look within you, focus on yourself, focus on your journey, like I've explained to you for this entire show today, is make sure you are getting better at your craft, know what your craft is, and be able to have the uniqueness to make it so you're standing out. Make sure you're standing out. I'll close you guys out with a book recommendation, a book that I think about on a daily basis. I strongly recommend. It's Purple Cow. Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Purple Cow. Let me just make sure I pull it up. Just in case you're watching this on video. So probably this one will be on the Move Swiftly podcast as well. But I'm gonna close you out with it's a book recommendation here, Purple Cow by Seth Godin, because he talks about being a person that sticks out from the crowd. Okay, he talks about being a person that sticks out from the crowd, and when you are that person, all right, like you see, transform your business by being remarkable. Make sure you guys go get that. It's a really, really great read, and it makes it so whatever it is you want to do, make sure you're doing something that's going to make you unique at that thing. And as you continue down that path, the opportunities become endless. Now, if you're just doing it because it's the way somebody else did it, your opportunities lessen and lessen, and they're limited. They're limited to what someone else can do for you. But if you go the opposite route and you figure out how to develop and sharpen and develop your craft and sharpen your tools on your own, the opportunities eventually just start becoming endless and endless and endless. Think about how the whole journey started for me. The thing started for me just wanting to be a football coach, to now I can go and be a play-by-play announcer for any college football game or conference or network in the entire country if I wanted to, right? Because I'm not loyal to one program. Obviously, I'm a diehard Michigan fan and diehard Redskins fan and all that, but that's just me being honest, all right? So all that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work is makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. Also, make sure you tap in with me on the Patreon link. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon. Also, make sure you